Welcome to 1000 Why Questions. Here we dig into everyday mysteries you've always wondered about.
You're standing in line at a coffee shop. The grinder is screaming. Someone drops a spoon, and suddenly, bzz, bzz. You reach for your pocket. Nothing. No phone, no notification. Just your heart beating a little faster for no reason. Or maybe it happens at home. Late at night. The room is quiet. Netflix paused. Lights dim. You swear you just heard your phone ring in the other room. You recognize the exact tone. But when you check, silence. No missed call, no alert, nothing. Pretty much everyone has felt this at least once. Some people call it phantom ringing. Others call it imaginary notifications. But that leads to a bigger, stranger question. Why does your brain make you hear phone rings that don't actually exist? To understand this, there's one thing you need to know. Your brain is not a recording device. It doesn't just wait for sounds to come in. It's more like a prediction machine, constantly guessing what should happen next. Think about driving your usual route to work. Same turns, same traffic lights, same billboard with the lawyer's face. After a while, you're not thinking about every move. You already know what's coming. Your brain fills in the gaps before your eyes fully catch up. The same thing happens with sound. When your phone rings dozens of times a day, your brain learns that sound is important, urgent, worth reacting to instantly, so it builds a shortcut. Instead of waiting for the full sound, it reacts to partial clues, background noise, rhythm, even silence. Now add habit. Your phone usually rings when you're waiting, bored, distracted, standing in line, stuck in traffic, lying in bed scrolling. Over time, those situations themselves become triggers. It's like smelling popcorn and already tasting butter. The signal doesn't need to be complete. Sometimes your brain jumps ahead, and sometimes when it jumps too far, creating a ring that never happened. Neuroscientists actually have a name for this. It's called phantom perception. That's when the brain creates a real sensory experience, without a real external stimulus. And it's surprisingly common, not just with phones. People with tinnitus hear ringing in total silence. Amputees feel limbs that are no longer there. The brain hates missing patterns, so it fills them in. With phones, the mechanism is slightly different, but closely related. Studies show that your auditory cortex can activate before any real sound arrives, especially when that sound is emotionally important. Messages, calls, social connection. Think of your brain like a security guard who's had way too much coffee. Once it learns that alerts matter, it stops waiting for certainty. A chair scraping the floor, a truck passing by, your clothes brushing together. Any of these can get misread as phone ringing. One Stanford study found that people who check their phones more often experience phantom rings far more frequently. Not because they're anxious, but because their brains are highly trained, overworked, overprepared. And here's the key point. This isn't your phone messing with you. It's your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do. Detect important signals as fast as possible, even if it means a few false alarms. And the scary part, it's working perfectly. Here's the surprising truth. Hearing phantom phone rings is not a sign of addiction, stress, or mental weakness. In many cases, it's the opposite. It means your brain is efficient, maybe a little too efficient. From an evolutionary perspective, missing a real signal used to be dangerous. If you didn't hear a twig snap in the woods, you might not survive. So the brain learned to prefer false positives over silence. Better to hear something that isn't there than miss something that is. Your phone has hijacked that ancient survival system. Calls and notifications now feel socially important, sometimes emotionally urgent, so your brain treats them like survival signals. That's why phantom rings often happen during quiet moments. In silence, your brain turns the volume up. It scans harder. And when nothing comes in, it sometimes creates its own signal, just in case. But here's the real insight. The more you expect your phone to interrupt you, the more power it has over your attention, even when it's not there. The sound isn't coming from your pocket. It's coming from anticipation. Once you see that, something changes. The phantom ring stops being creepy. It becomes a mirror, a small reminder of how deeply technology has trained our minds to stay on alert. So next time you reach for your phone and realize nothing actually rang, don't panic. Your brain isn't broken. It's just doing what it's always done. Predicting the world a little too well. That imaginary ring is your brain saying, I'm ready, just in case. And now you know why. If you enjoy small, everyday science like this, subscribe and stay curious.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of 1000 Why Questions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to support the channel. Got a thought or your own why question? Comment below. And if you want more,